This is the Seahawkers Podcast, episode 396. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
Dude, we gotta stop meeting like this. Another loss? This is stupid. I don't like it.
3 in a row.
Yeah.
3 in a row now.
Yeah. 5 of the last 6. Not cool.
Yeah, can we stop?
I think so.
Can we stop?
I think so.
Is this the week that we stop?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I knew going into that game with the Chiefs, it was going to be a struggle fest with Patrick Mahomes. You know that even if it's a close game, that guy finds a way to win in the final moments. And I guess we saved ourselves from Patrick Mahomes winning in, where you get the go-ahead score with 40 seconds left on the clock, and then Pat Mahomes just marches down the field on 3 plays and drives a dagger into your heart in the final seconds. I guess we saved ourselves from that.
Yeah, we just decided to get down 17 points in a hurry and then just have a struggle fest for another 2 quarters or 2.5 quarters, and then watch the Mahomes just seal it up with a diving Superman effort to the pylon, which is frustrating. You saw the Hawks struggle mightily on 4th down with the idea that they were going to have to put up points and keep up with the Mahomes, and that didn't come to fruition. And you started to wonder if that was going to be a problem early when they had a very early drive and they had a 4th and 8 and Geno had a wide open receiver on the left and it gets batted down. And you're like, oh man, gonna be one of them days. Like Geno doesn't get a bunch of balls batted down, but it happened right there. And then from there on forward, it was a bit of a struggle on 4th down until it didn't matter.
3 of 6 on 4th down conversions. Time of possession, though, 35 minutes. The Seahawks won time of possession. Not only did we win yards, 333 to 297, we also won time of possession. We did not win the turnover battle, though.
No. And having gone back and rewatched a bit of that, I'd almost wiped the Geno interception from my mind because it just felt so hopeless at that point. But they were driving, and they looked like they could maybe put up some points. And I think he was working with Treadwell on that throw there. And
that was a good one down the left side.
All right. Well, whatever. There was a miscommunication there because the receiver breaks it off and, Geno throws it to the end zone. And
Geno took the blame for it, whether or not he was just being a leader or actually had some share of the blame there. He took it.
But what if Brandon, that he ended up with 2 picks after the second batted ball at the line, that Austin Blythe comes out of nowhere and knocks down you're the man, the myth, the legend, Austin Blythe, your favorite Seahawk this year. He saves an interception in this game. And in the post-game show, you know how much love he got from you? Zero love for an amazing play by our center.
If Austin Blythe goes and plays professional beach volleyball next year, he has some tape.
Austin Blythe, the next Karch Karai. Look it up. It's happening.
There you go. I think he could do it. He should try that.
I don't know that he's got the height.
I don't know if he does either. Well, I don't think Karch Karai was all that tall.
Yeah, I know, but he had hops. Austin Blythe's definitely. No offensive lineman has hops. I don't care what they tell you. They don't.
Well, one thing I have learned over this stretch of games, though, going down 17 points to start the game, not ideal.
It's not ideal, but then again, it wasn't the death nail in this game either. Like they had opportunities to go down and get it close. I mean, one of those drives where they stall out on 4th, right around the Chiefs 30, like they did, because that seemed to be the kryptonite. You punch one of those in, and all of a sudden now it's a 1 possession game, and it gets a little wild. But they just couldn't do it. The offense couldn't get it done. Despite Kenneth Walker having some success in this game, and he was fun to watch. Looked like you had mentioned in the post-game show that he had mentioned that he'd got to take into heart the idea of trying to cut it up inside and being a little bit more decisive, and it showed.
Yeah, finishes the day over 100 yards despite only rushing for, 10 yards in the first half. So if that's something that he can turn around and they can get that running game going then in the first half rather than in the second half, I want to see that, because I just feel like, and I know it's been a big discussion point throughout this week, if Geno is somewhat to blame for the 5 games lost out of the stretch of 6 games. And I don't put the blame on Geno for this. These last 6 games, if you look in those first 6 at how well the team was balanced in terms of running the football, throwing the football. And yeah, the defense was historically bad for those first 6 games, but it was because of that offensive balance. It allowed the Seahawks to stay in those games and win a lot of those games. And it's been out of balance this second half of the season.
It really has. And you wonder if K9 wore down a little bit, just being a rookie and coming out of college. And I think you're kind of seeing that a little bit with the offense as a whole. I kind of feel like the tackles have worn down quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. Both Lucas and Cross, they look like they're getting power rushed a lot more towards the back half of the season than they did at the early part. Now, part of that could be that the teams have seen tape and they're like, oh, that's what you do. You go at them. And also they're rookies, so they haven't had the full offseason to build their body as a professional athlete without anything else on their plate, right? So I think they're kind of wearing down. And when you have a young team, I think you can see that happen over time. And I think that has a big part to do with the lack of balance and the power running game. And then also too, I think Gabe Jackson's been struggling in terms of his health, and that's why you see that rotation with Phil Haynes. We talked about that a little bit. And then, Dame Lou's been okay. And you need 3 dudes in the middle that are better than okay when it comes to consistently running the football. And that's just what they don't have it right now.
Yeah, especially taking on a team like the Chiefs where they have a beast up the middle with Chris Jones. You consistently, whether it was getting into Geno's face or just stuff on the run, he was a consistent force in the middle of that Chiefs defense. Him and Willie Gay.
Yep. And thing about it is that doesn't get any easier this upcoming week against the Jets because Quinnen Williams is coming and he's just as disruptive as Chris Jones and maybe with a little more juice because he's a little younger.
Yeah. So where are you at in terms with Geno? I know 3-4 weeks ago we were talking about absolutely sign him, 3-year deal, make it happen. Have you at least changed how you feel about that just over these past few weeks?
I was thinking about this just today after I watched some Cowboys highlights, and that's what kind of got me thinking about this a little bit more. I think it's difficult to go out and find a quarterback that's going to give you more than Geno does week in, week out, especially right away, because I don't think Pete wants to wait around for a developmental quarterback either.
Right.
So with that said, yeah, sign him up for 2 to 3 years. But here's the flip side of the coin. Geno's really good. Geno's Dak Prescott. Can move a little bit. He's pretty accurate. Plays on time most of the time.
Yeah.
But, then he's Dak Prescott. He needs that run game to be clicking. He needs his weapons to do their share. And he can put up big numbers and he can do all that. And he can lead a team far in theory. But do you sign up for 2 to 3 years of Dak Prescott? Now, here's the other thing. You do have the luxury of knowing that you're not going to have to pay him Dak kind of money.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. And so at that, with the price tag that I think Geno's likely to come with, it's a no-brainer.
I know players don't like to be franchise tagged, but I think if the front office wants to do the smartest possible option, I think franchising Geno Smith is the smartest way to go. And it does a couple things for you. One, come free agency, you don't have to worry about him leaving. Now, you could even use the non-exclusive franchise tag, and that way other people can negotiate with Geno, and then if they decide to sign him,
catfish that. Nope, I don't want any piece of that. I really don't, because I think you're going to get poison pilled that way.
You can't. That's not a thing anymore.
You get my drift, though. You could see the Cardinals being like, "Yeah, 45 a year. What do you think?" Just to try to drive the price up.
Well, they have to give up picks if you decide not to match the contract. That's part of that deal.
Yeah. No, and I get that.
Okay, so even if they don't do that, which I'm kind of in line with that idea of going the exclusive route, that way no other teams can negotiate. I don't think a team is going to give up 2 first-round picks anyway. The whole idea, though, behind the franchise tag for me is that it gets you to the draft. If, for instance, the Seahawks lose these final 2 games, I don't want it to happen, but the way things are going, it's a possibility. Right now, with their own pick, they're sitting at number 12 in the draft order. And that's in addition to the number 3 pick that they currently have with the Broncos pick. If you end up being there around 12 and you have Geno Smith as your franchise tagged quarterback, and you pick a dude who is a pass rusher, whether it's on the edge, whether it's on the interior of the defense with that top pick, and then there's a quarterback there that's still in the top 10 and you're at 12 and you can give up a second round or a future first to then go back up and get that future quarterback. I kind of like that idea of maybe if you're sold on the guy, maybe shoot, even if he competes his way through training camp, shows up and you're convinced that he's the guy and not Geno, then Geno's under contract for a year and you can trade him away then for future picks.
I don't think there's a lot of downside to signing him to a 2-3 year deal. And on top of all that, I don't think there's any scenario in which you get a first for Geno. He's too old. I just, maybe a second, but you don't get a first.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I don't think that the non-exclusive tag is really that much of an option, because one, you don't want to allow other teams to negotiate with them anyway, to even have to make that decision. And two, I just don't see a team giving up 2 first-round picks. That to me seems. I mean, we got 2 first-round picks for Russell Wilson. And I don't think another team's going to do that again with the Seahawks.
I don't know that anybody's going to be trading for Seahawks quarterbacks anytime soon after that deal. That could be the end of that right there. It could be just over. That would be just John picking up the phone and being like, "Well, how are you over there, Mr. Kirchner in New York? You maybe a Zach Wilson for Geno?" Click.
Zach Wilson for Geno Smith. Is that where you're going? Or are we?
I saw a headline today, or a video title today from the guy Top Billin, Murph.
Oh, yeah, Murph, yeah.
I did not watch it, but the premise of it was Zach Wilson for Geno.
Oh.
And no.
And why would we do that to Geno? Send him back to New York? I don't
know.
It seems a little rude.
But New York might be awful interested after Pete and Geno put up their revenge game this week against the Jets.
Finally. Yeah. This is what can kill a 3-game losing streak. Not a lot of those in Pete's past, right? Where
right.
He loses more than 3 games in a row, or even 3 games in a row. And Pete doesn't often lose to his former teams. He's competitive that way. And Geno hasn't lost a game, any of his revenge games this season. This is a streak breaker coming up against the Jets.
It certainly feels that way if you want to try to channel the positive mojo after a bunch of losses. And the thing about it is that you're facing a Jets team that record-wise is a mirror image of you. I mean, they're 1-4 in their past 5. They're on the struggle bus, but we got some bad news today that Zach Wilson is not even going to dress, and that Mike White has somehow found a doctor in Cambodia to clear him to play because they don't have any legal ramifications to that. But yeah, it's definitely going to make it a much tougher go.
Yeah, it's a rib issue for Mike White. And I think there was maybe a legitimate doctor that said now that he's had a couple weeks rest, now it's okay to go out there. But it's not
Doctors
Mike White
in Cambodia
that I'm worried about.
Are legitimate. How dare you? How dare you?
I thought that you just picked that as a country that produces illegitimate doctors.
No, I just figured that they would be protected legally from any recourse.
Oh, okay.
From like Mike White's family when he's the first one to die on the field.
Yeah, well, we don't want that. No, we want Mike White to live through this game. But if we get the same kind of pressure that we've been giving all quarterbacks that the Seahawks have faced, Mike doesn't have anything to worry about.
Not a lot of danger there. I don't think he's going to get lit up like the last time he was out there.
Here's the thing, though. Have we decided if he's actually good? I mean, the guy tears up a bad Bears defense a few weeks ago, and we're ready to crown him. I mean, the Vikings, it's not like they've been world beaters on defense, and he threw for almost 370 yards, but he threw 2 picks in that game. So are we just concerned about his performance then against a couple of relatively bad defenses? I mean, our defense is awesome, so I'm sure we have nothing to worry about when it comes to Mike White.
The Vikings defense is way worse against the pass than our defense. I mean, it's like close your eyes, cry yourself to sleep bad if you're a Vikings fan. I mean, it is atrocious. But then he also went toe to toe with the Bills, right? Took them pretty deep in a game. And the thing is that he might not be a great quarterback. I mean, he's probably closer to Taylor Heineke than he is Pat Mahomes, right? But the thing is that the team plays for him and everything seems to click a lot better. His receivers sure like him a heck of a lot more. I mean, shoot, Garrett Wilson had a coming out party.
Yeah, a solid rookie. I know Elijah Moore was not real happy with Zach Wilson and him being a quarterback. So, yeah, they have a guy that they can play with and play for, but it's not the passing and receiving game that concerns me. It's Michael Carter and the Jets run game. Yes, no Breece Hall because he went down to injury weeks and weeks ago. He was the electric rookie that was taken before Ken Walker in this past draft. And unfortunately, he gets hurt. But it doesn't seem to matter who's in the backfield of the opponent. You have to be concerned.
You're going to have to start paying rent for living in my head, because that was literally about the next thing I wanted to talk about. Is like, well, no Breece Hall, but who cares? Because the Jets actually do care about running the football a little bit, and they'll go after it. So, yeah, if the Seahawks can just keep it under wraps a little bit, and then, I don't know, maybe defend a running back out of the backfield. The Chiefs just destroyed us with that all game. We've been destroyed by that all season. And then I read an article today about field goals, and they're like, yeah, this has actually been going on for 3 seasons. And no wonder my PTSD every time I see a running back out in the flat flares up. Like, good Lord.
Yeah, and I think Michael Carter is actually the better of the backs catching out of the backfield, better than Breece Hall was. So even though you don't have Hall, you have a guy now that you have to worry about catching passes out of the backfield and also running the football. I mean, he's running for a pretty good clip. He's at almost 400 yards on the year. His yards per attempt's down under 4, but yards per reception out of the backfield is up near 8.
This is an opportunity for the Seahawks to actually scheme specifically for an opponent instead of stubbornly just playing the way that they want to play, which is death by 1,000 cuts and never give up the big play. That's exactly the game that Mike White needs to play. Give him all the dink and dunk stuff. Let him get ahead of the chains early in downs. Keep it easy and manageable. That's what Mike White needs. That's what he wants. So I would challenge the Seahawks to get up in the receiver's face, play man-to-man, press coverage, and bring the safeties down. I don't want to see him playing way the hell back. I want everybody up in that 10 to 15 yard area and make Mike White beat you deep. Make him do it, because he's not that guy.
But Pete loves our third down numbers, Adam. So I guess I just don't see him changing, because he looks at those third down numbers and he thinks that the defense is doing exactly what they need to be doing.
Sure, yeah, you got to get the third down. Can't just constantly be giving it up on first and second.
And that's why it frustrates me when I hear Pete talk that way, and that, oh yeah, third down numbers are good. Yeah, but what about your first and second down numbers, Pete? And you know, how many 3rd and 15s have you given up? That's part of the frustration too. And you know, I brought up Michael Carter's name. They got James Robinson in reserve too. And I know Robert Saleh is a good enough coach to identify a team's weakness, especially when he's the tough, hard-nosed type of coach. He's going to want to come in, run the football. And so I just see it being a heavy dose of Carter, Robinson, and recognizing that, yeah, the Seahawks are pretty good against the pass, and they haven't been all that great against tight ends too. So that may be something that we see, a good tight end day from Mike White and whoever the Jets have at tight end.
Right. Yeah. Well, the worst part would be, what if Mike White re-injures the ribs in the game, which is fairly likely in terms of all the injuries, right? Like, you're very tender out there with some bad ribs.
Yeah.
What if we got Flacco'd to death in this game?
While we're bringing up worst case scenarios.
How many broken, because I'm setting it up for my best case scenario here shortly. How many broken TVs would you have in your house if you got Flacco'd to death in this game?
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm kind of to the point to where I want to see a quarterback beat us and not just get destroyed on the ground. And even with Mahomes, I mean, we expected that, but it was kind of the running backs on the edges catching passes instead of Travis Kelce, which, we could expect that. I mean,
he tears everyone up.
He tears everyone up. And still, they only put up 20-some points on the board, which was within the range of what our offensive average had been throughout the season. So, yeah, our offense goes and fails. And I think it's going to be tough to put up points on this Jets defense, too.
It is. The Jets defense is pretty damn good. And I think that there's a player on the Seahawks who's going to take that personal. And I think that's rookie quarterback Tariq Woolen. This is the game that he goes out and he gets a big pick six and makes a statement in this game to cement defensive rookie of the year honors over top of Sauce Gardner.
I would like to see that. I don't know. I think he's probably going to need 3 pick sixes in this game, though, to win over everybody. And because all I ever hear whenever defensive rookie of the year is brought up, it's like, oh, yeah, there's a bunch of good defensive rookies, but really it's Sauce Gardner's award. I mean, he's already got it locked up. Okay.
Yeah. So does he lead the league in interceptions?
No. And I don't understand why it's a foregone conclusion that he's got this award locked up when you look at almost all of the other numbers, except I think that Woolen is behind in passes defensed, which, okay. So he's what, 4 behind in passes defensed to Sauce Gardner. He's got 3 more picks than he does, at least.
Yeah. And the last 4 or 5 games, that half the field's just done now. Like they don't throw
They don't even throw his way.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely Sauce Gardner is your defensive rookie of the year. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Like the national narrative, you can tell that's that East Coast bias just popping right out.
I know.
That's people who don't watch football, man. Like it's super annoying, or aren't even bothered to look at the stat sheet.
And I'm not saying that Gardner's not incredible.
He's great.
He's a great player, but the conversation needs to be between a couple of guys and the other guys here in Seattle.
Yeah. And he's had a better rookie year, a more impactful rookie year.
It's wild.
So that's my prediction. Reek the Freak gets himself a spectacular pick six in this game and starts to change the narrative on Defensive Rookie of the Year award.
How good would it be, though, if Tyler Lockett returns this week and we see some Tyler Lockett on Sauce Gardner then, and then Lockett coming off the hand injury gets, 80 plus yards on that side of the field going up against Gardner. I feel like that could switch it too. And that's not out of the question. Tyler was out catching passes pain-free after having surgery on his hand this past week.
Look, Tyler Lockett is a magic human and he's ready to play. I'd be stunned if he doesn't play in this game, because I watched them with DK when he hurt his knee, right? And he told everybody, I'm fine. And everybody's like, "Ooh, I don't know, man." Like, the coaching staff, everybody, well, we're going to take it real easy. I didn't think there was any way he was going to play that next game. And he's like, yeah, here I am. I'm playing. And Lockett's the same way, man.
I feel like the coaching staff with Tyler is already leaning that direction that, he was out there catching passes pain-free. Of course he's going to play. Like he's out doing walkthroughs. Whereas with DK and the knee, it felt like it was closer to a game time type feel around the conversation. I'm not getting that at all with Tyler. So I think we're going to see him play, which is crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. It is.
He didn't even have to cut off his finger.
No, he was awesome and kept all his digits. Like, that's even better. Like, Tyler finding a way to, even one up Ronnie Lott that way. Right. But we do get Tyler back. Hopefully that does help to offset the loss of another pass catcher.
Yeah.
And Uncle Will out for the year.
I know.
Where did that happen?
I wonder if it's just being conservative based on the history with him and his knee, because it's another knee issue with him. And I can see that idea around being somewhat conservative. I don't like it with, potential playoffs on the horizon. You could still make it. And maybe they are just that excited about getting Jacob Hollister back on the roster.
Well, I'm pretty sure they're missing some guitar buds in the tight end room these days. I mean, with Luke gone and Hollister gone, they need some long hair guitar guy in there to talk about Techno Thursdays and hit on women. Like, that's what we've been missing in the tight end room.
That's what we've been missing. And Luke has like some real job as an announcer up in Canada now. So I guess we couldn't get him back on short notice.
Wait a second. You disparaged Cambodian doctors and I came to their defense, but I will not have you say that Canadian sportscasters are real people with real jobs. It's not true.
No, it's a complete myth.
Yeah.
Get your butt down here, Luke. Suit up.
Luke Wilson used to wear adult-sized onesies, okay? Like, he can't ever have a serious job in his life.
So the route for the Seahawks and the playoffs, got to go through the Jets. Although, not necessarily. With the way that the tiebreakers are going to play out, there's still a possibility that teams are going to get into the playoffs with an 8-9 record. Maybe not ideal, but the Jets, they're still in it too. They have one road that they can follow to the playoffs. They have to win their final 2 games, and the Patriots have to lose at least once to either Miami or Buffalo.
That's not out of the question.
Not for the Jets, no.
But also, too, our playoff odds took a little boost today when the Commanders came out and named Carson Wentz as the starting quarterback. I was like, pleased and thank you.
Right.
I appreciate that very much.
Yeah. There's some interesting quarterback decisions happening here toward the end of the season, and that was definitely one of them.
So we get through murderer's row of Mike White and the Baker, and I think we've got a pretty good shot to actually be there.
I hope so. I want to win these final 2 games. I know that it looks fun for the draft and the offseason to look at where the Seahawks are at number 12 in the draft order right now, plus the top 5 pick with the Broncos also there, and think, man, those are 2 good looking draft picks. But one, I don't want Pete or Geno to lose to the Jets, especially Geno. Geno needs that revenge game. Like, Pete's had his revenge game like 5 times over versus the Jets. That one doesn't matter as much to me. Geno needs his revenge game against the Jets. And then I don't want to lose to the Rams and Sam Bradford.
Sam Bradford, yeah. Other Oklahoma quarterback. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Other
Baker
flame
Mayfield,
out Oklahoma quarterback. You got the 2 flameouts right there together. Good job.
Jalen Hurts, is he quarterbacking? Kyler Murray, is he quarterbacking the Rams? Now we'll get all the Oklahoma quarterbacks on the Rams.
Only one of them hasn't flamed out monumentally yet.
Well, I don't know if you can say Kyler's flamed out monumentally yet either.
Oh, really?
Not monumentally, like just his flame is flickering.
Oh, I'd say starting with that playoff loss last year, he has been a dumpster fire.
I think there's still some hope left, though. That's what I mean.
Where?
I don't know, among Cardinals fans.
In the desert? Yeah.
I'm more concerned about whether or not Kingsbury is going to be able to keep his job after this week.
Yeah, me too. I started to get a little nervous about that when the Broncos got rid of Hackett.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they got rid of Hackett before the season, that means that there's a possibility Arizona might get rid of Cliff at the end of the year. That's possible. It's in range.
It's in range. So with this game against the Jets, I do want to talk a little bit more playoff possibilities here in the second half. But anything else coming up against the Jets here that we need to cover before we move on?
Just win, catfish. Damn it. Like, I'm sick of this catfish. Like, give me a win. I want to go into the Rams game thinking that there's a chance to go to the playoffs and have stupid Baker Mayfield, the stupid Rams, rip my heart out of my chest. I need that in my life. That's the way that this season ends for me.
You're seriously going to put that out there right now into the universe. Like, that's how you're feeling, that you believe that that's how this is going to go?
No, I don't, because I think the Rams and Baker got their fluky game out of the way against the Broncos while hanging a 50 burger on a really good defense. Like, I think that's all the points they had left. I think they used them all up.
I hope so, because this Baker Mayfield return tour is
overblown.
No, it's totally accurate and correct. And I was right this whole time. Baker Mayfield's still good. My whole offseason take about how he could come into Seattle and be a good quarterback, totally accurate. Mm-hmm. This is showing just how correct I was this offseason.
Yeah, it must feel awesome to be vindicated by the Rams.
I'm vindicated by Baker, whose name I couldn't remember 10 minutes ago.
Right. Yeah, he was already dead to you on the inside.
I already put him in Sam Bradford category.
Yeah.
Let's get to the second half of the show. Some Seahawks news as we get into the second half here. Bo Melton, taken from the practice squad by the Green Bay Packers. Those dirty jerks.
Dirty jerks. And that feels like a sneaky good place for him to go.
They've had some success with young receivers so far, with Christian Watson having a pretty good year, with Dobbs.
Yeah, he spells his name wrong. Somebody needs to help him.
Just take out a U. Call him Dobbs. I think that's how people are supposed to pronounce it.
Then why put the U in there in the first place? Just get rid of it. Dobbs.
That's I don't want the Bo Melton revenge game coming back to bite us when the Packers and Seahawks both get into the playoffs. So
you never know. Could be a big day for Bo.
I'm not too worried about Bo Melton leaving necessarily, because other than, I don't know, how far back do you have to go? Joey Galloway to a receiver that left the Seahawks and had success with another team. Like, name one other receiver that left Seattle and had success.
None. And also too, Bo couldn't even crack the lineup here with the likes of Laquan Treadwell and Penny Hart ahead of him.
Yeah.
Like, he couldn't even crack those guys with Tyler going down.
And DJ Dallas, who can't decide when and when not to fair catch a punt.
Yeah.
You've had all this time on the practice squad to try and field punts and work your way onto the squad via special teams, and you haven't been able to do it. Igwebuike figured out a way to do it, and he's good at returning and probably took that spot. And even with Will Dissly going out to IR, that opened up the roster spot to where, if Will goes on to IR, there's a spot there. There's a way onto the active 53.
There was. But I'm glad you brought up Godwin Igwebuike. Did not nail it. Igwebuike.
There you go.
Igwebuike. He had a huge game. We didn't talk about him at all. He had a massive game. He looked great yet again as a returner. Yeah, bring him back. Sign him up. I'm in.
I know. I kind of want to see him even running the ball in the backfield a little bit. Give him some snaps. Reward that guy for the special teams play that we've gotten to see at him. I think we even see him on coverage where he's down there making tackles. So, he's been an outstanding special teams addition to a special teams squad that's been one of the best in the NFL this year.
That's true. I actually think that Igwebuike. Did I get it?
You nailed it.
Igwebuike.
All right. You just got to string it together a little bit faster, but yeah.
No, it's going to be a struggle fest every time. Like that can't be.
Well, it's interesting because even on, if you go onto the Seahawks media site, they have the players actually pronouncing their names, so you can hear it in their voice. And
that's kind of cool.
And he even says it slow, Igwebuike, like just so.
Well.
Yeah, just for us, so we can know where the emphasis is.
Hey, at least he understands the struggle is real, and I appreciate that. But I am 100% certain that Igwebuike could run the give up play more effectively than Travis Homer.
Yeah,
it's like a return.
It really is, in the same way that everybody knows exactly where the ball is going, and still able to make people miss. So let's see it happen.
That's right. Igwebuike for give up play master. Let's have it. I want it. I want that in my life.
In Broncos draft pick watch, yes, we got to see the Los Angeles Rams gift us a nice little present on Christmas Day and handing the Denver Broncos a 50 burger. Now, I don't know if I really wanted Hackett to get fired with 2 games left. Like, if they're going to quit on their coach, I would rather them quit continuously over the final 3 weeks and not have any kind of possibility for redemption in the final 2 weeks. Now, the schedule gets pretty tough with the Chargers and the Chiefs both coming up for the Broncos, but I think both of those teams have playoff spots locked up too.
They do. And I think by that point, the Chiefs really will probably not be playing for that 1 seed. Maybe they will. It'll be hard to say. We'll see. But the Chargers will probably be locked into that wild card, the higher wild card spot, no matter what. So going into this next week, which is kind of a bummer. I was excited that the Broncos promoted not Ejiro Evero, but the guy who was brought in like week 3 to handhold Hackett on basic coaching decisions. I'm glad they put him out front instead of Evero. I think that it had a little more bounce to him with Evero.
Yeah, and I can sense that you know who you're talking about and you're not bringing up his name because you only know him based on that particular piece of news, just like me.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was a special teams coach for the Ravens in 2018 and has not been working since he got that call up by the Broncos early on this season. I don't know his name either. Yeah.
And that's by design. Hey, fun fact. Listen to some Broncos stuff today. Guess what? Broncos fans don't know his name either.
Jerry Rosberg. There we go. See, I just needed a little bit more time to Google it.
Jerry's not bringing him home with 2 wins.
And by now, 80% of our audience has forgotten the name I just said. So you're welcome. I looked it up. We can all pretend that we all know now. And that's who's going to be coaching the Broncos for the rest of the season.
Was it Jerry McGovern? Is that what you said?
Jerry Maguire?
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, so there is a path for the Broncos to earn the number 1 pick. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
Okay. Broncos lose out to Kansas City and the Chargers. Now, it is they do play Kansas City this week, right? So that is the better. We would rather have them play Kansas City this week, yeah, because I think there is still a chance they're going to want a shot at the number 1 seed.
Yeah, I thought that was flip-flop. So, no, you're 100% right. They probably still have a chance.
Yeah. So that's good. 2 losses by Denver, definitely within range. The Chicago Bears. They have to win one of the final 2 weeks. Detroit, Minnesota.
They could. I have a feeling they're going to win in Minnesota. I think Minnesota is going to have it shut down by then.
Minnesota seems like the more likely option because that is a week 18 game. And as long as they aren't playing for the number 1 seed, which it is possible, I don't know if it's probable or likely, but I feel like their playoff spot is going to be solidified by the time the Bears play them in week 18.
100%.
It is possible.
Yeah.
All right. You also have to see the Houston Texans beat Jacksonville and the Indianapolis Colts. And before you say that there's no way that can happen, the Colts and the Texans, they tied 20-20 in week 1. That's maybe not the matchup that you're as worried about, but the Texans beat the Jaguars in week 5.
Really? I didn't realize that. Now, the Jags have come on pretty strong here, second half of the year, and they've been a fun story. But this is where the wheels on the bus fall off for Jags fans. Like they can't have anything nice, and they can't have anything nice this season. So I could look out of those 3 different scenarios that have to play out. The Broncos losing both, the Bears beating either the Lions or the Vikings. I'd say those 2 things are nearly certain locks. The third part of it is they just have to beat the Jags. Because I do think they're going to beat the Colts. I think they hands down are going to beat the Colts.
That's the Colts with Nick Foles?
They've all planned their vacation for weeks, man.
Yeah, the Colts on a 5-game losing streak and not looking like they're having any interest in getting a win to close out the season.
Dude, they're all going to quit on Saturday, like before they get to Sunday.
Right.
Yeah. It sounded better in my head. Just go with it.
I should have kept moving. I hung on to it and then thought about it a little bit of how I might be able to save you from that one. But
did that to me.
You did that to you. I think the Jaguars are going to win that division, though. It might be an 8-9 type scenario. The Titans, they've got the same kind of losing streak going that the Colts do.
Yeah, but even with Tannehill out, like I do think that they can ride Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry is injured. He's not playing this weekend.
What? Wait, when did that happen?
I think I saw it in the news here just on Wednesday.
Oh, no.
Or he's doubtful.
I stand behind what I said earlier. The Jags don't get to have nice things. There's no way they're winning this division.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Henry, doubtful, which generally doubtful leads to out.
Means no.
Well, we're going to see that game on Thursday Night Football with the Cowboys. Oh, that makes sense why he's doubtful, because it's a Thursday. It is aligning against the Jags, which works out well for us because, wait, no, does it? Because then they have extra time to prepare for Houston.
Look, there are five fundamental laws in the universe right now, or forces in the universe that are immutable, right? You've got electromagnetic force, you got gravity, you've got the strong nuclear force and the weak nuclear force, and the Jags can't have nice things. Those are all immutable traits of the universe. They cannot win that division.
Well, regardless, I feel like we're being greedy by even hoping for the number one overall pick, but the option, the possibility is there, and I do want it. It's just, if it works out to where the Bears get the number one pick and Houston slips down and they end up number 3, that works out okay too, because we know that the Bears aren't going to take a quarterback first overall. And well, maybe that doesn't work out because we don't necessarily want a quarterback. So maybe we want,
the Bears want to choose defense or O-line.
That's why I could see this working out, even if the Seahawks stay at 3, because I feel like the Bears should go O-line. I feel like the Texans could go with a quarterback, which if that plays out that way, then that could leave the top defender on the board for number 3.
Okay. I'm pulling up the NFL draft order right now.
Yeah.
It's Texans 1. Yeah.
Bears 2.
Broncos 3. Okay. Which is us. And then Cards 4. So this is going to be a weird draft, I think, in the top 4, because Texans are obviously looking for a quarterback. Got it.
Yeah.
Bears aren't. We aren't necessarily with that first pick.
The Bears also have enough pieces to where they could be big players in a trade if a team wanted to go up to take a quarterback.
This is what I'm getting at, because Cards right now have the 4th pick. Mm-hmm. They're probably not interested in a QB, even though they ought to be.
Mm-hmm.
Falcons drafted Ritter. They're at 6.
Let's not take the Cardinals out of the QB race, though, because if Kyler's not going to show up until the end of next season because it's an ACL injury.
Yeah. I forgot that the Smurf got a boo-boo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see a lot of teams wanting to trade up this year. That whole draft order could get wonky on draft day.
Yeah.
Even though I haven't looked at the quarterbacks yet, a lot of people really like it. 3 or 4 of them this year.
I mean, the rumor is that the Seahawks even like one of them. So,
which one?
One of them.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
That's as much as you're going to get from the Seahawks in terms of rumor mill. So,
yeah, that's a good point.
We just found out how many years later that they wanted to trade Russ for the first overall pick so they could pick Josh Allen that draft year. Like 6 years later. And we're just now hearing about it.
Yeah, would have been nice, I guess, but oh well.
A lot of games that have potential impact on the schedule this week. I kind of want to go through them because to this point of the season, I know people ask about rooting guides, like who do we root for on which particular game?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of questions. And I suppose, well, we already started with Dallas and Tennessee.
Yeah, we want Tennessee, right?
I think we want Tennessee to lose because we want Jacksonville to not have to play all that hard. We want Tennessee to go ahead and lose. So that way the Jaguars don't feel like they're in a must-win situation to stay at the top of the division. Actually, the Jags may rest players because I think I heard that rumor that the Jags may rest their players because they play Tennessee in week 18 anyway. So that's, no matter what happens in terms of the Jags this week, they're in a play to win to get in.
Win and get
in week 18.
There we go.
So that works out for us then because Houston has that better opportunity to beat Jacksonville in week 17. And then, again, that's part of the path for Seattle having the first overall pick.
Right. So in other rooting guide news, we want the Packers to lose, the Giants to lose, and the Commanders to lose, right?
Yeah. Well, I was going to go through the whole schedule, but I feel like those are some of the obvious ones. But do we want the Packers to lose? Or because the Packers play the Vikings this week, and we don't want the Vikings thinking that they have a shot at earning that top spot in the NFC. Because we want them to lose in week 8. We want them to lose to the Bears in week 18 to help with that number one pick chance.
Interesting. I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers get hot and make it to the playoffs. I just don't want that in my life.
No. It gets real interesting on some of these because, you have the Bears and the Lions. There's that idea of you want the Bears to at least beat Detroit or Minnesota. And also you want the Lions to lose and stay out of the playoff race. But there's also the idea of, do you want the Lions to win and have that potential of a 3-way tie just in case it's the Seahawks, Lions, and Packers? Then the Seahawks get in on the 3-way tie potential with those 3 teams.
This rooting guide is probably really helping people figure out what they ought to be rooting for and not.
Yeah.
Or do they?
Or it turns out that you could be okay in 2 different directions.
You could be okay in 2 different directions as long as the 3-way that Brandon just brought up is involved. You just wanted to say 3-way.
I did.
Yeah.
All right. Broncos Chiefs, we covered that one. That one's pretty straightforward. Dolphins Patriots doesn't necessarily matter, although I know you hate the Dolphins, so
I do. And there's no way Tua plays, right?
No, he's got to be out this week.
I mean, for the year. Isn't this his 3rd this year?
Yeah. Although if they do make it into the playoffs, I could see him returning for the playoffs after resting the rest of the regular season.
Now, I know you work for the federal government, but I need somebody who's in the give you grant money part of the federal government, because I want to do a study to find out if left-handed quarterbacks are just way more susceptible to concussions. Because that's how Steve Young got destroyed, and this is how Tua is getting destroyed.
Yeah, that stinks. He was playing real well up until that point in the game, too.
Yeah, he's okay.
He hadn't thrown any picks before.
Yeah,
the play where they suspect that he got his concussion.
Right. And then he started making all sorts of weird throws.
Yeah. All right. Well, we don't need to talk about that one much. Colts, Giants. So we want the Colts. We actually want the Colts to win a game here.
Here we go, Indy. Here we go.
The one game where we kind of sort of need the Colts to win, and I don't have a lot of hope with Nick Foles at the quarterback spot.
Is it really Big Dick Nick going for the Colts this week?
I think so. Didn't he play last week? They can't figure out who is their starting quarterback for the life of that team.
Oh, well, that's fine, because next year they'll have Derek Carr.
Right. That would make all the sense. Or Russell Wilson.
Nobody's trading for that contract.
If the Broncos cut him.
They're not doing that. I don't know if you heard George Payton and Penner Walton, billionaire guy, faceless billionaire guy. They all said that they saw flashes. So
if you're Russell Wilson and you hear the general manager talking that way, like, oh, we think he can be fixed. That's your ringing endorsement of your quarterback that you just paid big money to this past offseason. I don't know if I like hearing that if I'm Russ.
That'd be tough. That'd be real tough. Yeah, he should be on notice a little bit here. That's for sure.
I'm thinking it's about time we start hearing about all the teams that he'd be okay with trading to. Not that he wants a trade, but that he'd be okay with a trade too.
Well, we're a little early for those leaks, but I did hear a leak that he's going to appear on Dan Patrick soon to make a leak. So
talk about how he's tired of getting hit so much by his offensive line.
Well, I mean, you go somewhere and there's certain promises made. And if, like in any good relationship, if, the promises aren't, held up to, like if they don't hold up their end of the bargain, sometimes you got to go a different direction, even though you don't really want to. But if you had to, you could go a different direction.
2 games left for Russell Wilson and the Broncos, and he's at his 3rd highest sack total. He's four sacks behind his highest sack total of his career.
Yep.
And he couldn't wait to get out of Seattle to get behind an offensive line that could protect him.
Okay.
Not that I'm still bitter about his appearance on Dan Patrick, Adam. I'm not still bitter about it.
You're totally over it. If Russ gets cut, would you try? Would you want him to try? Do you want him to come back?
I might be okay with it. A little more humble Russ back in Seattle for, trying to prove to the rest of the world that he's not washed up. I'm not opposed to that storyline.
It's going to be hard when you're backing up Geno.
It's all competition. Just go and compete.
He's got to do something different this offseason, right? Like, he can't do the same Instagram workouts that he's been doing for the last, however many years.
No, I suppose not.
He's got to lose 20 pounds.
Yeah, I think that would help him out. He's got to get a little bit of his speed back. I think he tried to do the padding thing because, he had to do that to withstand some of the hits. But now I think for him to stay in the game, I think he needs a little bit more speed back.
I do. Look, you're already writing the offseason headlines in Denver. Look at that. Russ loses 10 pounds faster than he's ever been.
There it is. All right. We're still getting through our game rooting guide. Maybe we have more Broncos to talk about. I don't know. But we have the Saints and the Eagles, and let the Eagles win that game.
Yeah. Let's go Minshew.
Future Indianapolis Colts quarterback Gardner Minshew.
That'd be a massive upgrade for them. Minshew's damn good. I don't care what anybody says.
He nearly won that game for the Eagles. I mean, if their defense holds up, where was the Eagles' defense in that game?
Yeah, if they play half as good as they normally do, that's a win. That's a dub.
Sheesh.
Minshew balled.
Steelers, Ravens doesn't really impact Seattle. Panthers, Bucks. I think we want the Bucks to go ahead and just win that because we don't need any of those NFC South teams sneaking up and knocking us out of the playoffs because they have a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So that's why we want the Saints to lose too. Saints can lose. Panthers can lose. Browns, Commanders. I hate that I have to root for the Browns in that game.
Oof. Yeah. Can you root for the team and not the quarterback? Is that possible?
Can.
God, he's been god awful, hasn't he?
He's been pretty bad.
Good. That's the universe coming full circle. Yeah, right, but
we're counting on the Browns to maybe pull out a win over the Commanders that can help us get into the playoffs. Although I don't think that the NFL wants the Commanders in the playoffs. And so we may have external forces on our side.
That's an amazing point. I didn't even think about it from those. They cannot have that PR move going on.
Have you seen some of the calls that have gone against the Commanders late in games? I feel like there's something going on.
Okay. All right.
Well, it was a couple weeks ago when, remember, there was the big stink in the media about the receiver that lined up. I think it might have even been McLaurin on the right side. And he was talking to the official about being up on the line, and it was an illegal. They called him for an illegal formation, which, I mean, it was the right call because he asked the official if he needed to move up, and the official told him to move up, and then all McLaurin did was shuffle his feet a little bit and didn't really move up, and then they threw a penalty. But still, they had the pass interference that was a couple plays later that went as a no call. I feel like the Commanders.
I'd forgotten about that game. That was rough. They got hosed in that game.
Yeah, NFL might be helping us out into the playoffs. I just want
to go out of my way right now to thank Daniel Snyder for all his great work to make the NFL want to keep him out of the playoffs so we can make it. Thanks.
49ers, Raiders. How much fun would it be for the Raiders to sit Derek Carr, put in Jared Stidham, and then beat the 49ers? So go Raiders.
Yeah, I love it. But Stidham's god awful. So
it's not happening, but it's I can dream about it.
Yes.
Packers, Vikings. That's another one of those games that it's like the Bears, Lions. Could go either way and be in our favor potentially.
No ties. Well, that's what we're rooting for. No ties.
Rams, Chargers.
Never Rams.
Well, I was just trying to think in terms of draft pick status, but because they got the win over the Broncos, now they can lose out the rest of the season. So Rams, you got your final win with 50 points. You don't get to score any more points. You're losing to the Chargers Sunday night.
Exactly. Done.
And then Monday Night Football, doesn't matter. Bills, Bengals. Enjoy that game.
Okay.
Pick whoever you want to win.
Well, if you don't pick Buffalo, you're a soulless loser, but that's fine.
I mean, maybe you're a Joe Burrow fan and you want to see him get back in the playoffs and have some success.
I do love me some Joey B, but yeah, not this year. No, sorry, dude. You had a chance at the Super Bowl last year. You blew it.
Yeah. Give your other guy a turn. Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Give him a turn.
Yeah, Joshy Allen.
All right. So there's your very confusing rooting guide for week 17. There's, two really confusing games, but everything else is relatively straightforward.
Look, and if that was all too much for you to keep straight and all that, this is what you do. Just when Sunday rolls around, you turn on the TV and you yell at it.
Yeah. You have an early game with the Bears-Lions that you can just get mad or super happy with every time one of the teams scores, because it's going to go your way either way. And then Vikings-Packers, which if you're watching that game, you're doing it wrong because the Seahawks are on.
Right. Yeah. You need to reevaluate.
Turn the channel back to Seattle. What are you doing?
That's right. You need to reevaluate your life. Although I guess if, the NFL has blocked you out of that game for like no reason, as they often do, maybe that's what you get stuck doing. So.
Yeah. Well, that would be the game that they'd stick you with.
Yeah. I am extremely, extremely hopeful that this YouTube TV thing with the Sunday ticket is going to solve all the problems.
Somebody has to finally figure this out to where you can pick the team that you want to watch every single week and you're not going to have to miss that game. It's just you pay for that team, whatever it costs, you're guaranteed to get that game no matter where in the country you are. And that's how it works.
Exactly.
Don't screw it up, Google.
Look, if Google needs an executive to come in and, help figure all this out and get it sorted, I'm available for 6 or so figures.
Or just rewind the past 30 seconds of what I just said and do that.
I can give you like what you should do, but they don't know how to do it. They need me.
Well, we do have some executive producers and new producers of the show that we need to welcome to the flock, and they can give us input, much like we are willing to give Google for, 6 figures. Well, I'd even come down to 5 figures just so we can make sure that it happens.
I don't know, man. I think I'm going to need all 6 of the figures.
Need all 6?
Yeah.
All right. We want to thank our executive producers, DCH, Dustin Mock, Brian Shaw, and Rebecca Christensen.
That's right. If you ever wonder who we're beholden to, there's the list right there.
That's it. There's also the rest of our members of the flock, though, and starting with Jeffrey Emma, who came in at 17-16, saying, "Flocker country, let's fly."
I like it. Appreciate it, Jeffrey. And 17-16, that couldn't have been the score of the last game. I know that.
No. What is that's I think the score of the upcoming game against the Jets. Jeffrey's from the future. We beat the Jets 17-16.
That's amazing. Appreciate it, Jeffrey. And make sure your DeLorean has all the gigawatts it needs.
You don't want to get stuck in 1955. I'll tell you that.
No. Or 2022.
Kevin Russell in at 282 pounds for the year. That's the Better at Life option for the annual donation in pounds. And Kevin says, "Guys, after hearing the recent emails on people finding out that Patreon has hurt their Hakra, I thought it best to make sure my payment details were up to date. On scratching that itch, I thought I had best give you all a raise too, following the great work you and Clinton and Wilson and Phil have done this year. As to the wise, Adam is keen to point out, you have to recognize value for value, and you certainly have delivered on this. 5 shows a week. The Hawks have done a lot better than we dared dream after losing Russ and Bobby, and I have made a decent amount of change thanks to the Prop Stars show. So, time to pay it back. Whatever happens, the season is one we can look back on realizing we have been freed of the weird uncle vibes of Russ, and the future is bright. Thanks for all the entertainment, and Happy New Year to all the flock. Go Hawks."
Dude, Kevin's got some zingers now and then, man, that just crack me up. Yeah, the weird uncle energy. He's 100% right. Like he's got some good ones. Well, it sounds like Kevin has been listening to my betting advice on PNW Prop Stars. So if you guys also want to make money like Kevin just by listening to me and do as I do, then feel free. Yeah, tune in.
You almost ran the table again this last week. You were what, 4 Seahawks points in the second half short of running the table?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was it.
Ugh.
Exactly.
Man.
And last week I did run the table, but Wilson put together an elaborate conspiracy with his Skull and Bones partners at Princeton to rob me of a yard from Deontay Foreman's stat sheet.
And that ruined your whole day.
It did. Then Wilson quote won by 50 cents by hitting one big bet. Is bullshit.
Not that you're still upset about it and thinking about it.
I'm not upset about it, much like you're not upset about the Dan Patrick Show appearance by Russ.
No, I feel like, okay, yeah, if you want that to stick with you, then we can have our things that stick with us.
I didn't need it in my life. I didn't want it in my life, but it's just something that Wilson did with his high society conspiracy brothers.
See, this is a good point, though. We all need people in our life that we're connected to because, okay, Wilson gets over you on this time, but now I feel like he owes you. And so with those connections, now you can exploit them in the future whenever it's advantageous to you.
Yeah,
right?
Who knows? Be a way. Maybe I'm going to need a presidential pardon, and he's going to be the puppet master of the Manchurian candidate, who is the current president at the time. So
you just don't know, but you have that in your back pocket now.
You can't predict them. Yeah.
Q at Lloydzilla out on Twitter says, why would we fire Pete? We were meant to be awful this season. We aren't. We were meant to be inept without Russ this season. We aren't. We were meant to be nowhere near the playoffs this season. We are, just barely. This season was laying the foundations for next season and beyond. You don't fire your builder because other builders have better bricks. With what we have this season, what we have achieved already, even if we don't win another game, is more than any of us truly imagined, and we have been successful. Frustrating, but yes, successful. No surprise that Hackett got fired. I have a new take on this, though. I think we're going to see a classic WWE heel turn at the end of the season. Russ is going to stand in the center of Mile High Walmart aisle 3 or whatever it is called now, tear off his Broncos jersey to reveal the Seahawks number 3 jersey and retire, saying, I knew I was done, and by doing this meant I could provide for the Hawks for years to come, flip the Broncos country the double birds, and walk into the Ring of Honor. As always, keep up the amazing work, and Merry Christmas from Hugh.
I love it. Oh, I love it. Hugh's right where I'm at with my headspace there. I dig it. Now, he's also on Twitter, so I'm sure he has seen the reasons to, quote, fire Pete. Or no, quote, reasons. That's more how you should put it.
Yeah.
To fire Pete. Because they are absurd. Well, he's old. He likes running like the other successful coaches. I don't really like it.
Have you seen his shoes? Those shoes, come on. Those are old people's shoes.
I need to tell everybody I don't like it in 140 characters. We need a different coach, and I don't know which one.
Now, I'd feel a lot better about it. Like, he could solidify and secure his job by just going and winning the Super Bowl with Geno this season. If that's still an option, like, just go ahead and do that.
Yeah, it's still an option.
Yeah, I think he's going for what, the Sun Tzu deceptiveness of everybody thinking our defense is bad, and then we get to the playoffs and they're just amazing and they crush everybody. It's Legion of Boom 2.0, and we go on to beat Josh Allen and the Bills in the Super Bowl. That's what's going to happen, right?
I mean, how can it not?
It's all setting up just perfectly. We solidify the number 1 pick and then go on and win the Super Bowl in the most exciting fashion possible.
Yeah, I mean, what could go wrong? This is happening for sure.
Hey, if you want to become a member of the flock, getintheflock.com. You can help support crazy ideas like that one.
Yeah, and they're fun. Because isn't it better to listen to this than the national media talk about the Seahawks for about 33 seconds and then move on to, I don't know, the Steelers?
Yeah. I was in the car this past week, and so many times I felt like they were teasing an upcoming discussion about what was going on with the Seahawks. And then they would never get to it.
Yeah, you were getting teased all right. Just not the way that you thought.
No. Evie Lloyd comes in, relation to Hugh, says, "Hi, shouty man," and the one who keeps him calm. "My name is Evie. He was my dad, and he's let me borrow his login to email you. I really enjoy listening to you, especially when Adam gets angry. Your do better thing about toilet roll holders made me laugh so much."
Awesome. See, I knew Evie and I were on the same page. This is great.
"I keep an eye on the Pick'em League, and every Sunday night I sit with my dad and go through who he has picked, and then every Monday morning he tells me who let him down and how he should have known better. But when the people picked against the Seahawks last week, Dad ranted like Adam about it. He was not happy.
Yeah.
I really like the league and now do it myself. I don't know what's really going on, but like to guess.
Yeah, you're ahead of most of us, Evie. Don't worry about it.
But no, never to pick against the Seahawks. I like numbers and maths, so went back and looked through all the weeks, and people have picked the Seahawks to lose a few times. If you like, I can go in and change them, as it's not fair. Don't worry, I would change my dad's scores to winning scores. It's too funny to watch him have mini Adam rants on a Monday morning. Happy Christmas. Love from Evie.
Much love back, Evie. I think what we need to do, Brandon, is I think we need to give Evie the login to the Pick'em League. I think that could be. I think Evie could be our new benevolent ruler of the Pick'em.
Hey, that now Hugh, that probably works out real well for Hugh because
no, it's gonna work out good for me.
It works out good for you, because you have the inside track because you're the shouty man, and
yeah, I'm the funny shouty man. So Evie will clearly go back and give me the respect to give my crappy after the fact picks credit in the Pick'em League, unlike you.
I know you want that Kenny Easley, Steve Largent signed helmet.
I'm coming up there next week, bud. I'm taking all of it. I'm taking my hoodie. I'm taking that helmet. I don't care.
Yeah, well, I already mailed your hoodie, so I mailed it today.
Oh, okay.
I figured it was time.
Well, if I don't come up next week, then I'm going to disappoint my mother, and I can only do that about 16 times a year, and we're at least, 14, so.
Well, speaking of the Pick'em League standings, let's look at who has the top spot after this last week. I'm just here so I don't get fined. Has 11 picks correct in week 16, which puts them at 156 points overall, one spot ahead of Kalispell MT Hawk. And then tied at third, we have My Dixon is Bigger and Well Pete Said We Were Awesome. And that is your top four. The winner for week 16, though, there was a three-way tie between Pickle Nick Belore, P Heart-Shaped Box, and Hot Pocket Locket. And with the correct score picked, Hot Pocket Locket gets the win for week 16.
Holy smokes. What a competitive week. Now, do you have a rooting guide for the Pick'em League for this week as well, or
what do I need to run down and see like who needs to lose so that way Peaceful Easily Feeling is able to work his way up from that number 6 spot all the way up to number 1?
We all know how this works.
Yeah. Well,
you got Evie watching your back now, though, dude. You can't be pulling these shenanigans.
That's true. Yeah, I gotta. There's eyes everywhere.
That's exactly right.
Only 2 weeks left, really, for the big movement over these past couple weeks. And I know what I was saying.
Okay.
So just a couple weeks left, but so help me. Evie's all on top of it. If you happen to pick against the Seahawks, we'll take you down.
Absolutely. We're coming for you.
One other thing before we get on to do better and better at life. You see who got picked for the Pro Bowl spots for the Seahawks?
Oh, yeah. It was Geno. It was Reek the Freak.
Mm-hmm.
And was it DK?
No. DK and Tyler both got in as are listed as alternates.
That is absurd.
Right?
Yeah.
Although there's some pretty good receivers in the NFC.
Better than DK?
Well, Justin Jefferson is in the NFC.
One.
Yeah, it is kind of ridiculous that DK didn't get in. They have, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb, and
Definitely
Terry McLaurin.
no.
This is all the NFC East receivers.
Now, I love me some Scary Terry. That dude's a baller, but still no.
Do you think that them being on the same team together and both being, 1A, 1B essentially hurt them in that respect? Like, obviously, these guys are the number ones for their respective team. They don't have a guy opposite them that is in competition for that spot. I think that hurts DK and Tyler both for getting that kind of recognition.
Okay, so your theory is you're going with the split the vote theory on DK and Tyler more so than I don't know. Let's just say geographical isolation.
Probably a little bit of both, but yeah, mostly geographical isolation. It's interesting to me that 3 out of these 4 guys are NFC East receivers.
True. Although my Better at Life says it's because of the Puget Sound.
Mm-hmm. So the other 2 getting in as top vote getters, Jason Myers, our kicker, and on the defense, safety, Quandre Diggs.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Is that surprising? Is that surprising to you that
Quandre's still good? I just don't think this was one of his like Pro Bowl type years where you're like, Quandre is one of the 2 best safeties in the NFC.
Well, only 3 safeties are listed here. Diggs, and then 2 players at strong safety, Budda Baker and Hufanga from the 49ers.
Okay. All right, because those might have been the 2 that I would have picked otherwise. So all of the safeties live in the NFC West and all the receivers live in the NFC East.
That's exactly how it works.
Okay.
I guess that leads you more toward my theory being the correct one because the safeties got all the love in the West.
Okay. I'll let you have that win. You get it. That's your win. Your take was the more correct one.
Although, even looking at the defense, it definitely skews heavy NFC East for all of these defensive Pro Bowl selections too.
Well,
for the most part, outside of safety, it's pretty heavy.
I mean, Philly's defense is good. Dallas's defense is good. Washington's defense has some ballers on the D line. I get it.
Yeah. Okay. And so for some of the alternates, we've got Jordan Brooks, alternate at linebacker, because he has a lot of tackles. Nwosu, listed as an alternate at linebacker.
Okay, there you go.
And then we got DK and Tyler, as I mentioned, and an alternate on special teams, Nick Bellore, and alternate at punter, Michael Dixon.
Nick Bellore shouldn't be an alternate for the Pro Bowl. He should be the next president of the United States.
He's earned it. He's earned that spot.
More so than the people who have been the president of the United States over the past 20 years.
Trade current or former president for Nick Bellore, who says no.
Maybe the Seahawks.
Right, because then they would lose him.
Yeah, they'd be like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, but if he's pulling strings from up top, I'm telling you, work in our favor.
It's true. You could get the opposite of the Commanders treatment. I think they call that the Rams treatment.
On to do better and better at life.
All right, man. My do better this week. You Washingtonians should all be very happy about this because you are now officially off the hook as the worst drivers I've ever seen on a winter pass. Like I once went over Snoqualmie Pass and it was snowing buckets and it was deep and everybody coming down the Seattle side with me, like they all just didn't realize that you're going downhill and it was, I don't know, 3 inches of snow on the road and maybe give about 5 car lengths between you and the person in front of you instead of riding their ass and, having multiple rear end collisions all the way down Snoqualmie Pass. That was, they were the record holder there for a good long while.
Yeah.
But
you found a worse option?
Have heart, Washingtonians, because Californians are officially far worse than you in wintry, quote unquote, snowy driving conditions. As I went over Donner Pass just yesterday, and it was while there was snow in the air, Brandon, it was blowing around in the air.
Yeah.
The roads were just wet and bare the whole way. And there was one of two approaches I saw taken by California drivers. One was to drive 25 miles an hour under the speed limit, thus clogging everything up and making traffic a little more dangerous, or going 25 miles an hour over the speed limit for like no reason. Like you could just, I don't know, drive normal and everything would be fine. I saw that again, wet and bare coming over the pass. Get right over the pass. Some dude from California had spun out 3 times, woo, 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 and I ran into a snowbank and was pointing the wrong direction. I don't know how he managed it. That was amazing. Then the next one I saw was a Ford F-150 who somehow got a tire cut in the slush or something that was way off on the side of the road, went up on an embankment, rolled it over onto the top and was blocking 2 lanes.
Oh my gosh.
And then there was another rear ender like halfway down the mountain. Like it's normal driving conditions, California. There's snow in the air. Just drive like a person down the road and everything will be fine. So to stupid Californians, drive better, do better.
You know, it reminds me of whenever I go out to Washington and it's raining buckets and everybody's driving normally. And it kind of baffles me a little bit. But then the sun comes out and everybody slows down.
Right. Well, that makes sense for that area, right?
Maybe. It doesn't make sense to me.
No, it seems to be antithetical, but yeah, that was it was an adventure coming down Donner Pass yesterday, looking out for all of the dumbasses that seemingly had a meltdown because there was snowflakes in the air.
Yeah.
It was 40 degrees. There was nothing freezing.
And yet people found a way to go off the road.
Multiple times. Had cars on their roofs.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of cars on their roofs, how about the Cardinals organization? And it's not looking good for Cliff Kingsbury this week because J.J. Watt announced his intent to retire at the end of the season, tweeting out that he had played his final home game. And when head coach Cliff Kingsbury was asked about it, he had no clue. Coach of the Arizona Cardinals heard the news just as the rest of us did on Twitter, which just goes to show you how much of a dumpster fire that Cardinals organization is. Like J.J. Watt doesn't even want to give a heads up to his current coach that he's planning on retiring at the end of the season, or the general manager. I don't know, because he feels like, one, they're either going to leak it out, or two, he just doesn't respect him enough to care. And that's why he's going out at the end of the season. It's not a good look for Cliff Kingsbury. It's not a good look for the Cardinals. And continuing to give those kind of bad looks, it's going to make it so we don't have Cliff Kingsbury in our life next season. And I've been counting on that as a Seahawks fan. I want somebody to rule the bottom of the division, and it can be the Cardinals. That's fine. If they get a new coach, that makes it much less likely than what we've been able to count on over these past few years. And so, for the Cardinals organization, do better.
So Kingsbury, you got to at least look at that when they bring up the question to you, the reporters. Don't you have to play it up? Be like, oh, okay. So that is what he decided. All right. You know, I kind of figured that was coming. Yeah. Like, don't you have to go that way?
You have to lie at least to make yourself look a little bit better. And he chose the complete opposite. He chose to tell the truth and make himself look dumb.
Well, I guess that's better than their GM, who apparently framed one of the assistant coaches for like a DUI or something. I don't remember what it was, but an assistant coach who looks a lot like Steve Keim apparently took the fall for something that Steve Keim did, or allegedly.
Well, I think it's kind of a situation. I've been watching a lot of The Simpsons lately, and there was like Homer was at the point to where he couldn't get another DUI. And so when he went off the road, Marge was passed out and he put her behind the wheel. Was it that kind of situation for Keim?
Yeah, it seems that way.
Yeah. See, he's just been following Simpsons plot lines.
Hey, that would make more sense of the Cardinals organization than Facts, Logic, and Reason.
On to Better at Life.
All right, man. My Better at Life this week is for Noe Tyler Lockett. I don't know if any of you guys watched his interview with Richard Sherman this last week, but it was fabulous. And it was fabulous for a number of reasons. But one of the things that really stuck out to me was, Brandon, he is making both of our video podcast game look stupid. We look dumb. He's got himself like these just nice portraits of Seahawks greats just behind him. There's Walter Jones, there's Cortez Kennedy, there's Kenny Easley. I think maybe I couldn't tell, like, what is, it was a little blurry, so you can't really tell. One of them might have been Dave Craig. I didn't know. And then there was one right behind his head that you couldn't see. It
feels like the other one would be Steve Largent, because you've named all Seahawks Hall of Famers to this point. But
maybe it was Steve Largent. It's just the angle that, like, it looked like they were maybe throwing, but maybe they were catching. Maybe that's what it was.
Okay.
In the portrait. That makes a lot more sense. Thanks for clearing that up for me. But great interview. If you guys haven't listened to that, it was really fun to listen to that whole thing. And Sherm actually brought up, well, how come you and DK don't get the love that you should? We were talking about the Pro Bowl thing. And he's like, I don't know, bro. I think it's just a Puget Sound thing or something. And that's as good enough of an explanation as I've heard so far. But anyways, great interview. The man knows his Seahawks history, respecting all the legends on his wall, gets his finger surgically repaired. He's going to be back this week, tearing up the Jets. Tyler Lockett, the vet's vet, better at life than Skip Bayless.
I love it. We should have closed the show with that one. Because even as good as my better at life is, it can't beat Tyler Lockett. Tyler's amazing. He's one of my favorite Seahawks of all time.
Well, I thought you were the producer of the show. Can't you just like switch these with your podcast wizardry?
I mean, I could, but then we couldn't have a fictional character earning better at life to close the show for an amazing call during the Rams-Broncos game.
Second and long, and the Broncos, and those are the big horsey players, they have the ball, and they're going to see if they can find a way to move it.
Oh, nice.
And so what's happening? Oh, there's Russ Wilson. Oh, no! Oh, that's called an interception.
That's close.
Bobby Wagner. That's not what he wanted to cook.
No, I think he burnt whatever he was cooking. Bobby Wagner with the interception. The SoCal kid back home. Patrick, how exciting is that?
Bobby Wagner coming to town and doing that with his old teammate.
Patrick Starr calling the game on Nickelodeon between the Broncos and the Los Angeles Rams at the exact moment that Bobby Wagner intercepts Russell Wilson, and for making the call, saying that's not what he wanted to cook. Patrick Starr, and your call on that interception. You are better at life than Skip Bayless.
All right, man. I'm going to leave you on an island liking that one. That's for you. I can't stand the SpongeBob stuff. I didn't let my kid watch SpongeBob. That is the most, that sucks brain cells out of your head when you watch it. That is one of the dumbest shows I've ever seen in my life. And then the Nickelodeon casts of these games, that is some crackhead catfish that they throw out there that they're letting our kids watch. That is high level meth head stuff. I don't get it. I think it's ridiculous, and I want it to go away immediately. It's dumbing down America.
I tell you exactly why I wanted to watch the Nickelodeon broadcast. And it's because Nate Burleson is the color analyst and Ian Eagle is the caller. I don't know if there's a better tandem of two announcers that I would rather listen to than those two guys. And the fact that they put them on Nickelodeon is kind of weird, but there they were, and that's who I wanted to listen to. And I was treated to the Patrick Starr calling of Russell Wilson's interception. And I wanted to make sure that everybody else heard it, who now it went on Twitter immediately, and everybody who was on Twitter probably saw it already. But for those of you who happened to miss it, I just wanted to play it for the rest of you.
I'm with you on the Ian Eagle and Burleson combo, though. That's a hell of a combo. I just don't know why they would debase themselves to whatever that is. Now, do they they do the little graphics and all that stuff like during the live play, or is that only for replays?
Just during replays. I think they spice it up after the fact. Like they do some of the AR, the alternative reality stuff, like with people in the crowd, like they would put little Santa hats and beards on them. And then like in the goalposts, they would put up SpongeBob or Patrick. And when the field goal goes through, their face goes to a smile. Like that stuff happened on the field. And they said there were a couple times where they put Santa Claus on the offense lined up as an outside receiver, and he would run, just a straight go route. And Nate would say, or Ian would say, throw it to Santa. But then you had Burleson questioning whether or not Santa had good hands. So I thought that was kind of weird. Like, why would you even question the skill of Santa and his ability to catch passes? I know you said it's crackhead stuff, but this is the stuff that I was enjoying on my Christmas day.
Well, you may be a crackhead, but we do all know that Santa has huge sack.
And with that, why don't we thank our members of the flock at $12 and above? It's our last episode of the 2022 season, Adam. We need to thank all of our $12 members and above.
Keith Ketover, a.k.a. Flocktimus Prime, University of Cybertron, Little Flockers, roll out.
DCH from Sparks, Nevada, the University of Montana Grizzlies.
Eric Trench, rooting for the Seahawks out of Renton, Washington, graduated from Eastern Washington University.
Jameson Holman from Murray, Utah, representing Mississippi State University. Hail State and go Hawks.
Gary Blum from Chappaqua, New York, and the University of Pennsylvania, your 2016 Pick'em League champion.
Ron Pepper, UNLV Runnin' Rebels, San Francisco, California.
This is Hawk Van Dyke from the beautiful city of London and the capital of the UK.
Ella Esparza, Woodway, Texas, Yale University, and Sam Houston State, Eat 'em Up Cats.
Lisa in Seattle.
Samuel Gelber, NoHo, California.
David Van Cleve, Camas, Washington, home of the Papermakers.
Leo Jose, Luleå, Sweden, from Luleå Eskimos and Rennes in France.
Paul from San Diego.
Aaron Fisher, a.k.a. Lock It and Put It in Your Pocket, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Chris Boucher, a.k.a. the biggest little flocker, South Central Louisiana State University. Go Mud Dogs.
Hey Seahawkers, my name is Garen Taylor. I live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, North Idaho. Hashtag on the roads. Go Hawks.
Continuing on down the list, you heard from our executive producer, DCH. Also, thanks to our executive producers, Dustin Mock, Brian Shaw, and Rebecca Christensen. Also, a thanks to Christina in Manassas, Virginia, Craig in Camas, Roe in Federal Way, James in Linwood, Sven in Berlin, Deutschland, Jake in Seattle, Jeremiah in the Bronx, Christian in Oslo, Norway, Jonathan in Ridgefield, Jay in Linwood, Kevin in Onaway, Idaho, Brandon in Huntersville, North Carolina, James in Beau Arts, Pepper in Greenville, South Carolina, JC in Horsford, England, Jeffrey in Kansas City, Kevin in Great Glen, England, Kari in Rochester, Brian in Berlin, Connecticut, Connie in Gothenburg, Sweden, Tracy in Kaneohe, Hawaii, Ewolf in Seattle, Kevin in Surrey, BC, Marvin in Riverdale, Utah, Glenn in Ocoee, Florida, Dean in the Greater Hawkdom, John C. in the Greater Hawkdom, John in New York, Patrick in Sacramento, Bryson in Eltopia, Jeremy in Federal Way, Josh in Candor, New York, Ken in Hutto, Texas, Mario in Seattle, Cora in Ditters, Deutschland, Anders in Violet, Denmark, Rafe in Beaverton, Oregon, Warren in Dundee, Oregon, Chris in Austin, Amy in Squim, Brian in Omak, Jeff in Bainbridge Island, Richard in Killeen, Texas, Marlon in the Greater Hawkdom, Joseph in Vancouver, Dr. G in Leak City, Texas, Corey in Ridgefield, Kyle in the Greater Hawkdom, Ryan in Salt Lake City, Jamie in Oswestry, England, DJ in Menifee, California, Norma in the Greater Hawkdom, Joshua in the Greater Hawkdom, Alexander in Oanyenburg, Deutschland, Terrence in Seattle, Eugene in Henderson, Nevada, Daniel in Post Falls, Idaho, Jerv in Bristow, Virginia, Spooty Poo in Olympia, Tim in Olympia, Jason in Panama City, Florida, Terry in Vancouver, BC, Jeff in Gilbert, Arizona. Chad in Lexington Park, Maryland. Bridget in Redmond. Ryan in Crestview, Florida. Gordon in Valdez, Alaska. Kayla in Vancouver. Tanner in Kalispell, Montana. Ryan in Fairbanks. BB in Oakland. Sean in Cascade, Iowa via Kalispell, Montana. Leland in South Jordan, Utah. Jason in Portland. Ewalls 22 in New York. Ovary Smasher 69 in Phoenix. Corey in Robertson, Australia. Russell in Harpenden, England. Jay in Fairbanks. Sam in Alamonte Springs, Florida. Daniel C. in the Greater Hawkdom. Chris in Manchester, England. Logan in Evansville, Indiana. Mike in Somerville, South Carolina. Mark in La Mirada, California. Matt in Sultan. Charles in Spokane. Adrian in Squim. Jonathan in Newmarket, England. John in East Kilbride, England. David in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Ranger Luke in Olathe, Kansas. William in Los Angeles. Naked Bootleg in Stanwood. Brian in La Center. Darren in Chelmsford, England. Edward in the Greater Hawkdom. Mike in Kelowna, BC. Jake in Denton, Texas. Stu in Navarre, Florida. Mark in Seattle. And James in Atlanta. So yes, thanks to everyone for another great calendar year of the podcast. Gosh, we started back in 2013, and it's going to be 2023 coming up this weekend. And it's thanks to you that we've been able to keep this nonsense going.
You guys are amazing. Appreciate you sharing the ride with us. It's been a fun one this year, that's for sure. And it's not over yet. And yeah, man, just a sincere thank you to each and every one of you little flockers. You're the best little flockers that have ever flocked.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.